Have we not men more young to be employed from king to king? Thy age hath too much wrong. Thy age hath too much wrong. Said like a king, replied the sire, for I have sons renowned, and there are many other men might go this toilsome round. For I have sons renowned, and there are many other men might go this toilsome round. But you must see, imperious need hath all at her command. Imperious need hath all at her command. Now on the eager razor's edge, for life or death we stand. Then go, thou art the younger man, and if thou love my ease, then go, we stand. Then go, thou art the younger man, and if thou love my ease, call swift-foot Ajax up thyself, and young Phyliades. Phyliades? I'm going to check that. Phyliades. I think Phyliades is closer, because it would be Phyleus, son of Phyleus. Call swift-foot Ajax up thyself, and young Phyliades. This said, he on his shoulders cast a yellow lion's hide, big, and reached earth, then took his spear, and Nestor's will applied, raised the heroes, brought them both. All met, the round they went, and found not any captain there asleep or negligent, but waking and in arms gave ear to every lowest sound, and keen in arms gave ear to every lowest sound, and as keen dogs keep sheep in cotes or folds of hurdles bound, and as keen dogs keep sheep in cotes or folds of hurdles bound, and grin at every breach of air, envious of all that moves, still listening when the ravenous beast stalks through the hilly groves. Then men and dogs stand on their guards, and mighty tumults still of all that moves, still listening when the ravenous beast stalks through the hilly groves. Every breach of air, envious of all that moves, still listening when the ravenous beast stalks through the hilly groves. Then men and dogs stand on their guards, and mighty tumults wake, sleep wanting wait to close one wink. So did the captains wake, that kept the watch the whole sad night, all with attentive ear, converted to the enemy's tents, that they might timely hear if they were stirring to surprise, which Nestor joyed to see. Why so, dear sons, maintain your watch. Sleep not a wink. Sleep not a wink, said he, rather than make your fames the scorn of Trojan perjury. This said, he foremost passed the dike, the others seconded. even all the kings that had been called to council from the bed. And with them went Meriones, and with them went Meriones, and Nestor's famous and with them went Meriones, and Nestor's famous son. And with them went Meriones, and Nestor's famous son, for both were called by all the kings to consultation. Beyond the dike they chose a place, near as they could from blood, where yet appeared the falls of some, and whence the crimson flood of Grecian lives, being poured on earth by Hector's furious chase, he made retreat when night repoured. Grim darkness in his face. There sat they down, and Nestor spake. O friends, remains not one that will rely on his bold mind and view the camp alone. O friends, remains not one that will rely on his bold mind and view the camp alone of the proud Trojans, to approve if any straggling mate he can surprise near the utmost tents. Or learn the brief estate of their intentions for the time, and mix like one of them with their outguards, expuscating if the renowned extreme they force on us will serve their turns with glory to retire, or still encamped thus far from Troy. This may he well inquire, and make a brave retreat untouched. And this would win him fame of all men canopied with heaven, and every man of name in all this host shall honor him with an enriching mead. A black ewe and her suckling lamb, rewards that now exceed all other best possessions in all men's choice request, and still be bidden by our kings to kind and royal feasts. I'm just going to check Nestor here. O gods, our Greek earth... Yeah, okay, good. In all this host shall honor him with an enriching mead. A black ewe and her suckling lamb, rewards that now exceed all other best possessions in all men's choice request, and still be bidden by our kings to kind and royal feasts. All reverenced one another's worth, and none would silence break, all reverenced one another's worth, and none would silence break, lest worst should take best place of speech. At last did Diomed speak. Nestor, thou asked... Check him again. Suppress thine anger's powers, good friend, and hear why I refrained. At last did Diomed speak. Nestor, thou asked if no man here have heart so well inclined to work this stratagem on Troy. Yes, I have such a mind. Yet if some other prince would join, more probable would be the strengthened hope of our exploit. Two may together see, one going before another slide danger every way. One spirit upon another works, and takes with firmer stay the benefit of all his powers. For though one knew his course, yet might he well distrust himself, which the other might enforce. This offer every man assumed. All would with Diomed go. All would all would with Diomed go, the two Ajaces, Merion, and Menelaus too. But Nestor's son enforced it much, and hardy Ithacus. Menelaus too. But Nestor's son enforced it much, and hardy Ithacus, who had to every venturous deed a mind as venturous. Ithacus, who had to every venturous deed a mind as venturous. Who had to every venturous deed a mind as venturous. A mind as venturous. Who had to every venturous deed a mind as venturous. Amongst all these, thus spake the king. Tydides, most beloved, choose thy associate worthily, a man the most approved for use and strength in these extremes. Many thou seest stand forth, but choose not thou by height of place, but by regard of worth. Lest with thy nice respect of right to any man's degree, thou wrongs thy venture. Choosing one least fit to join with, wrongs thy venture. Choosing one least fit, wrongs thy venture. Choosing one least fit to join thy venture. Choosing one least fit to join with thee, thy venture. Choosing one least fit to join with thee, though perhaps a greater king. To join with thee, though perhaps a greater king. To join with thee, though perhaps a greater king. Choosing one least fit to join with thee, although perhaps a greater king. This spake he with suspect that Diomed, for honor's sake, his brother would select. Then said Tydides, Since thou givest my judgment leave to choose, how can it so much truth said Tydides, Since thou givest my judgment leave to choose, how can it so much truth forget Ulysses to refuse, that bears a mind? Ulysses to choose, how can it so much truth forget Ulysses to refuse, that bears a mind so much exempt and vigorous in the effect of all high labors, and a man Pallas all high labors, and a man Pallas doth, all high labors, and a man Pallas doth most respect. We shall return through burning fire, if I with him combine. He sets his strength in so true a course, with counsels so divine. Ulysses, loath to be esteemed a lover of his praise. With such exceptions humbled him as did him higher raise, and said, Tydides, praise me not more than free truth will bear, nor yet impair me. They are Greeks that give judicial ear. But come, the morning hastes, the stars are forward in their course. 2 parts of the night are past, the third is left. 2 parts of the night are past, the third is left to employ our force. Now borrowed they for haste some arms. Bold Thrasymedes lent adventurous Diomed his sword, his own was in the tent. Diomed his sword, his own was at the tent. Diomed his sword, his own was at his tent. His shield and helm, tough and well tanned, without plume or crest, and called a morion, archers' heads. Archers' heads it used, a morion, archers' heads, or crest, and called a morion, archers' heads it used to invest. Meriones lent Ithacus his quiver and his bow, his helmet fashioned of a hide. The workman did bestow much labor in it, quilting it a hide. The workman did bestow much labor in it, quilting it with bowstrings, and without the snowy tusks of white-mouthed boars, 'twas armed round about right cunningly. And in the midst an arming cap was placed, that with the fixed ends of the tusks his head might not be raised. This long since by Autolycus was brought from Ilion, when he laid waste Amintor's house, that was Ormenus' son, in Scandia to Cytherus, surnamed Amphidamus. Autolycus did give this helm when he... Let's just check these since we're here. Autolycus. Cythereus. Okay, that's one I got wrong. Scandia. Ormenus. Amintor. Molus. Okay. Elian. Got that wrong too. Okay, the big one was Cythereus. Tusks, his head might not be raised. This, long since, by Autolycus was brought from Ilion, when he laid waste Amintor's house, that was Ormenus' son, in Scandia to Cythereus, surnamed Amphidamus, that was Ormenus' son, in Scandia to Cythereus, surnamed Amphidamus. Autolycus did give this helm. He, when he feasted, was this helm. He, when he feasted, was by honored Molus gave it him. As present of a guest. Molus to his son Merion did make it his bequest. With this Ulysses armed his head, and thus they, both addressed, took leave of all the other kings, to them a glad ostent, as they were entering on their way. Let's check on ostent. Ostent. It's probably like portent, I guess, but... yeah, it's like portent. Ostent. Did make it his bequest. With this Ulysses armed his head. And thus they, both addressed, took leave of all the other kings. And thus they, both addressed, took leave of all the other kings. To them a glad ostent, as they were entering on their way, Minerva did present. A hernshaw consecrate to her, which they could ill discern through sable night, but by her clang they knew it was a hern. Ulysses joyed, and thus invoked. Hear me, great seed of Jove, that ever dost my labors grace with presence of thy love, and all my motions dost attend. Still love me, sacred dame, especially in this exploit, and so protect our fame. We both may safely make retreat, and thriftily employ our boldness in some great affair, baneful to them of Troy. Then prayed illustrate Diomed. Vouchsafe me likewise ear, O thou Vouchsafe me likewise ear, O thou unconquered Queen of Arms, be with thy favors near, as to my royal father's steps thou wentst a bounteous guide, when the archives and the peers of Thebes he would have pacified, sent as the Greeks' ambassador, and left them at the flood of great Aesopus, whose retreat thou madest to swim in blood. Of his enambushed enemies. And if thou so protect my bold endeavors, to thy name an heifer most select, that never yet was tamed with yoke, broad-fronted, 1 year old, I'll burn in zealous sacrifice, and set the horns in gold. The goddess heard, and both the kings their dreadless passage bore, through slaughtered carcasses, arms, and discolored gore. Now Hector let his princes sleep, but all colored gore. Nor Hector let his princes sleep, but all to council called, and asked, Trojans and hardy Greeks, hear now. But all to council called, and asked, What one is here? And asked, What one is here will vow, and keep it unappalled, to have a gift fit for his deed, a chariot and 2 horse that pass for speed the rest of Greece? What one dares take this course for his renown, besides his gifts, to mix amongst the foe and learn if still they hold their guards, or with this overthrow determine flight, as being too weak to hold us longer war. All silent stood. At last stood forth one Dolon, that did care this dangerous work, Eumedes' heir, a herald much renowned. This Dolon did in gold and brass exceedingly abound, but in his form was quite deformed. Yet passing swift to run. Amongst 5 sisters he was left Eumedes' only son. And he told Hector his free heart would undertake to explore the Greeks' intentions. All right, let's make a note for Dolon. This is 26:30. And he told, let's come up with it, boys. Thou shalt be sworn before by this thy scepter, that the horse of great Aeacides and his strong chariot would undertake to explore the Greeks. And he told Hector his free heart would undertake to explore the Greeks' intentions. But, said he, thou shalt be sworn before by this thy scepter, that the horse of great Aeacides and his strong chariot bound with brass, thou wilt before all these resign me as my valor's prize. And so I rest unmoved to be thy spy, and not return before I have approved by venturing to Atrides' ships. by venturing to Atrides' ship where their consults are held, if they resolve still to resist or fly as quite expelled. He put his scepter in his hand and called the thunder's god. Spelled. He put the scepter in his hand and called the thunder's god, Saturnia's husband, to his oath. Those horse should not be rode by any other man than he, but he forever joy to his renown their services for his good done to Troy. Services for his good done to Troy. Services for his good done to Troy. Thus swore he, and forswore himself, yet made base Dolon bold, who on his shoulders hung his bow, and did about him fold a white wolf's hide, and with a helm of weasel skins did arm his weasel's head. Then took his dart, and never turned to harm the Greeks with his weasel's head. Then took his dart, and never turned to harm the Greeks with their related drifts. But being past the troops of horse and foot, he promptly runs, and as he runs he stoops to undermine Achilles' horse. Ulysses straight did see. Stoops to undermine Achilles' horse. Ulysses straight did see, and said to Diomed, This man makes footing towards thee out of the tents. I know not well, but if he be used as spy, bent to our fleet, or come to rob the slaughtered enemy. But let us suffer him to come a little further on, and then pursue him. If it chance that we be overgone by his mere swiftness, urge him still to run upon our fleet. And lest he scape us to the town, still let thy javelin meet with all his offers of retreat. Still let thy javelin meet with all his offers of retreat. Thus stepped they from the plain amongst the slaughtered carcasses. Dolon came on amain, suspecting nothing. But once past, as far as mules outdraw oxen at plough, being both put on, neither admitted law to plough a deep soiled furrow forth. So far was Dolon past. Neither admitted law to plough a deep-soiled furrow forth. So far was Dolon past. Then they pursued, which he perceived, and stayed his speedless haste. Subtly supposing Hector sent to countermand his spy. But in a javelin's throw or less, he knew them enemy. Then laid he on his nimble knees, and they pursued like wind, a wind, as when a brace of greyhounds are laid in with hare or hind, close-mouthed and skilled to make the best of their illustrious course, serve either's turn, and set on hard, lose neither ground nor force. So constantly did Tydeus' son and his town-raising peer pursue this spy, still turning him as he was winding near his covert, till he almost mixed with their outcourse of guard. Then Pallas prompted Diomed, lest his due worth's reward should be impaired, if any man did vaunt he first did sheath his sword in him, and he be called but second in his death. Then spake he, threatening with his lance, Or stay, or this comes on, and long thou canst not run before thou be by death outgone. Or stay, or this comes on, and long thou canst not run before thou be by death outgone. Before thou be by death outgone. This said, he threw his javelin forth. This said, he threw his javelin forth, which missed as Diomed would above his right arm. Above his right arm, making way, above his right arm, making way, the pile stuck in the mold. He stayed and trembled, and his teeth did chatter in his head. They came in blowing, seized him fast, he weeping offered a wealthy ransom for his life, and told them he had brass, much gold and iron, that fit for use in many labors was, from whose rich heaps his father would a wondrous portion give, if at the great his father would a wondrous portion give. Heaps his father would a wondrous portion give, if at the great Achaean fleet he heard his son did live. Ulysses bade him cheer his heart. Think not of death, said he, but tell us true, why runn'st thou forth when others sleeping be? Is it to spoil the carcasses, or art thou choicely sent to explore our drifts, or of thyself seek'st thou some wished event? He, trembling, answered, Much reward did Hector's oath propose, and urged me, much against my will, to endeavor to disclose, if you determined still to stay, or bent your course for flight. As all dismayed with your late foil, and wearied with the fight, as all dismayed with your late foil, and wearied with the fight, for which exploit Pelides' horse and chariot did he swear I only ever should enjoy. Ulysses smiled to hear so base a swain given any hope so high a prize to aspire. To hear so base a swain have any hope so high a prize to aspire, and said his labors did effect a great and precious hire, and that the horse Pelides reigned no mortal hand could use, but he himself, whose matchless life a goddess did produce. But tell us, and report the truth, where left'st thou Hector now? Where are his arms, his famous horse? On whom doth he bestow the watch's charge? Where sleep the kings? Intend they still to lie thus near encamped, or turn sufficed with their late victory? All this, said he, I'll tell most true, at Ilus monument, most true. At Ilus monument, Hector with all our princes sits, to advise of this event, who choose that place removed to shun. At Ilus monument, Hector with all our princes sits, to advise of this event, who choose that place removed to shun the rude confused sounds the common soldiers throw about. But for our watch and rounds, whereof, brave lord, thou makest demand, none orderly we keep. The Trojans that have roofs to save only abandon sleep, and privately without command each other they exhort to make prevention of the worst. Without command each other they exhort to make prevention of the worst. And in this slender sort is watch and guard maintained with us. The auxiliary bands sleep soundly, and commit their cares into the Trojans' hands, for they have neither wives with them nor children to protect. The less they need to care, the more they succor dull neglect. But tell me, said wise Ithacus, are all these foreign powers appointed quarters by themselves, or else commixed with yours? And this, said Dolon, to my lords, I'll seriously unfold. The peons with the crooked bows and carries quarters hold, next to the sea. Caries, peons, leleges, caucons, Pelasgians. Okay, I'll seriously unfold. The peons with the crooked bows and Caries quarters hold next to the sea, and the sea. The leleges and caucons joined with them, and brave Pelasgians. Brave Pelasgians. Thymber's mead removed more from the stream is quarter to the Lycians, the lofty Mysian force. From the stream is quarter to the Lycians, the lofty Mysian race, the lofty Mysian force, the Phrygians and Meonians that fight with armed horse, but the Lycians, the lofty Mysian force, the Phrygians and Meonians that fight with armed horse. But what need these particulars? If ye intend surprise of any in our Trojan camps, the Thracian quarter lies utmost of all, and uncommixed with Trojan regiments, that keep the voluntary watch. New pitched are all their tents, King Rhesus, Ionius, Ioneus. Pitched are all their tents. King Rhesus, Ioneus' son, King Rhesus, Ioneus' son, all their tents. King Rhesus, all their tents. King Rhesus, Ioneus' son, commands them, who hath steeds more white than snow, huge and well-shaped, commands them, who hath steeds more white than snow, huge and well-shaped, their fiery pace exceeds the wind in swiftness. These I saw. His chariot is with gold and pallid silver richly framed, and wondrous to behold. His great and golden armor is not fit a man should wear, but for immortal shoulders framed. Come then, and quickly bear your happy prisoner to your fleet, or leave him here fast bound, till your well-urged and rich return prove my relations sound. Tydides dreadfully replied, Sound, Tydides dreadfully replied, Think not of passage thus, though of right acceptable news thou hast advertised us, our hands are whole. Though of right acceptable news thou hast advertised us, our hands are holds more strict than so. And should we set thee free for offered ransom, for this scape thou still wouldst scouting be about our ships, or do us scathe in plain opposite arms, But if I take thy life, no way can we repent thy harms. With this, as Dolon reached his hand to use a suppliant's part and stroke the beard of Diomed, he struck his neck athwart with his forced sword, and both the nerves he did in sunder wound, and suddenly his head deceived, fell speaking on the ground. His weasel's helm they took, his bow, his wolf's skin, and his lance, which to Minerva Ithacus did zealously advance, with lifted arm into the air, and to her thus he spake. Goddess, triumph in thine own spoils. To thee we first will make our invocations of all powers throned on the Olympian hill. Now to the Thracians and their horse and beds conduct us still. Still. With this, he hung them up aloft upon a tamarick bough, as eyeful trophies, and the sprigs that did about it grow he proined from the leafy arms, to make it easier viewed when they should hastily retire, and be perhaps pursued. Forth went they through black blood and arms, and presently espied the great Forth went they through black blood and arms, and presently espied the guardless Thracian regiment, fast bound with sleep and tired. Their arms lay by, and triple ranks they, as they slept, did keep, as they should watch and guard their king, who, in a fatal sleep, lay in the midst. Their chariot horse, as they coach fellows were, fed by them, and the famous steeds that did their general bear stood next to him, to the hinder part of his rich chariot tied. Ulysses saw them first and said, Tydides, I have spied the horse that Dolon, whom we slew, assured us we should see. Now use thy strength. Now idle arms are most unfit for thee. Prize thou the horse, or kill the guard and leave the horse to me. Minerva, with the azure eyes, breathed strength into her king, who filled the tent with mixed death. The souls he set on wing issued in Minerva, with the azure eyes, breathed strength into her king, who filled the tent with mixed death. The souls he set on wing issued in groans, and made air swell into her stormy flood. Horror and slaughter into her stormy flood. And made air swell into her stormy flood. Horror and slaughter had one power, the earth did blush with blood. as when a hungry lion flies with purpose to devour on flocks unkept, and on their lives doth freely use his power, so Tydeus' son assailed the foe. So Tydeus' son assailed the foe. 12 souls before him flew. Ulysses waited on his sword, and ever as he slew, he drew them by their strengthless heels out of the horse's sight, that when he was to lead them forth, they should not with affright boggle nor snore in treading on the bloody carcasses, for being new come, they were unused to such stern sights as these. Through 4 ranks now did Diomed the king himself attain. Through 4 ranks now did Diomed the king himself. Through 4 ranks now did Diomed the king himself. Through 4 ranks now did Diomed the king himself attain, who snoring in his sweetest sleep was like his soldiers, who snoring himself attain, who snoring in his sweetest sleep was like his soldiers slain. An ill dream by Minerva sent that night stood by his head, which Enades? By his head, which was Enades' royal son, unconquered Diomed. Night stood by his head, which was Enades' royal son, unconquered Diomed. Meanwhile, Ulysses loosed his horse, took all their reins in hand, and led them forth. But Tydeus' son did in contention stand with his great mind to do some deed of more audacity. If he should take the chariot where his rich arms did lie, and draw it by the beam away, or bear it on his back, or if of more dull Thracian lives he should their bosoms sack. In this contention with himself, Minerva did suggest, and bade him think of his retreat, lest from their tempted rest, some other god should stir the foe, and send him back dismayed. He knew the voice, took horse, and fled. The Trojans' heavenly aid, Apollo with the silver bow, stood no blind sentinel to their secure and drowsy host, but did discover well Minerva following Diomed, and, angry with his act, the mighty host of Ilion he entered and awaked the cousin german of the king, a counsellor of Thrace, Hippocoon, who, when he rose and saw the desert place where Rhesus' horse did used to stand, and the other dismal harms, men struggling with the pangs of death, he shrieked out thick alarms, called, "Rhesus, Rhesus!" But in vain. Then still, "Arm, arm!" he cried. The noise and tumult was extreme on every startled side of Troy's huge host. He cried. The noise and tumult was extreme on every startled side of Troy's huge host, from whence in throngs all gathered and admired who could perform such harmful acts and yet be safe retired. Now coming where they slew the scout, Ulysses stayed the steeds. Tydides lighted. Now coming where they slew the scout, Ulysses stayed the steeds. Tydides lighted, and the spoils hung on the tamarisk reeds he took. Now coming where they slew the scout, Ulysses stayed the steeds. Tydides lighted, and the spoils hung on the tamarisk reeds he took and gave to Ithacus, and up he got again. Then they flew again. Then flew they joyful to their tent. Nestor did first attain the sounds of the horsehoofs struck through air. Horsehoofs struck through air, and said, My royal peers, do I but dote, or do I My royal peers, do I but dote, or say I true? My royal peers, do I but dote, or say I true? Do I but dote, or say I true? Methinks about mine ears the sounds of running horses beat. Oh, would to God they were our friends! Oh, would to God they were our friends, thus soon returned with spoils! But I have hearty fear, lest this high tumult of the foe, their distress intend. He scarce had spoke when they were come. Both did from horse descend. All with embraces and sweet words to heaven their worth did praise. Descend. All with embraces and sweet words to heaven their worth did raise. Then Nestor spake. To heaven their worth did raise. Then Nestor spake. Great Ithacus, even heaped with Grecian praise, how have you made these horses your prize? Pierced you through the dangerous host where such gems stand? Or did some god your high attempts accost, and honored you with this reward? Why, they be like the rays of sun effuseth. Honored you with this reward. Why, they be like the rays the sun effuseth. I have mixed with Trojans all my days, and now I hope you will not say I always lie aboard, though an old soldier, I confess. Yet did all Troy afford never the like to any sense that ever I possessed. But some good God, no doubt, hath met, and your high valor's blessed. For he that shadows heaven with clouds, loves both as his delights, and for he that shadows heaven with clouds loves both as his delights, and she that supplies earth with blood cannot forbear your sights. Ulysses answered, Honored sire, the willing gods can give horse. Chryses, the mighty king. Ulysses answered, Honored sire, the willing gods can give. Honored sire, the willing gods can give horse much. The willing gods can give horse much more worth than these men yield. The willing gods can give horse much more worth than these men yield, since in more power they live. These horse are of the Thracian breed. Their king Tydides slew, and 12 of his most trusted guard, and of that meaner crew, a scout for 13th man we killed. From Hector sent to spy the whole estate of our designs. We killed. From Hector, a scout for 13th man we killed. From Hector sent to spy the whole estate of our designs, if bent to fight or fly. Thus followed with whole troops of friends, they with applauses passed. They with applauses passed the spacious dike, and in the tent of Diomed they placed the horse without contention. as his deserving, the horse without contention, as his deservings meed, which with his other horse set up on yellow wheat did feed. Poor Dolon's which with his other horse set up on yellow wheat did feed. Poor Dolon's spoils Ulysses had, who shrined them on his stern, as trophies vowed to her that sent the good abiding hern. As trophies vowed to her that sent the good abiding hern. As trophies vowed to her that sent the good abiding hern. As trophies vowed to her that sent the good abiding hern. Then entered they the mere main sea, to cleanse their honored sweat from off their feet, their thighs and necks. And when their vehement heat was calmed, and their swollen hearts refreshed, more curious baths they used, where odorous and dissolving oils they through their limbs diffused. More curious baths they used, where odorous and dissolving oils they through their limbs diffused. Then, taking breakfast, a big bowl filled with the purest wine, they offered to the maiden queen that has the azure eyne. They offered to the maiden queen that hath the azure eyne.